So jumping right in, my talk is From Fertilizer Comes Growth. I thought this was a wonderful analogy in what we're all going through right now, or what we have been going through for the past couple of months. If you're in this session, I would imagine it's because you have had to look at how to pivot in your business, or perhaps you're with a company that is looking to pivot or has been testing and measuring. So you have been experiencing this time of winter where, things may not be as fruitful as they were previously. And so right now is the time, literally it's spring, but it's also spring where we're planting seeds. We're looking at what we can control, and so that we can reap the harvest come fall and look back and see what worked, what didn't work, and how can we prepare for winter when it comes again. I will be transparent with you that within my company, our motto is not from fertilizer comes growth, it's actually from poop to profit. But I figured for our purposes, I had to think about my audience, and hopefully you find some humor in that as well. But I thought I'll use fertilizer for the public. In any case, we'll talk about how to pivot in times of change and look at revenue streams. Just a little background about my company and me. I'm actually a former first grade teacher. I went to school to be an elementary school teacher like my mom and my grandmother. And I got in early 2000s, if that tells you about how old I am. And there were all the first budget cuts, and I was having to reapply and re-interview every year. And it was just really demoralizing. And while I missed the children, I really needed to think about something else. So I got into marketing and communications. And all the while, I was always what we call a brand ambassador on the side. So I was going to BevMos and working golf tournaments and special events for different brands to help them build brand awareness for their products and services through these live face-to-face interactions. And I just loved it. And at the end of 2008, I got in with a company that wanted me to work more than I could. I was working full-time and trying to do all these demos and things on the side and working on my master's. So I ended up starting Mirus at the beginning of 2009. So we're just over 10 years old with one client in San Diego. And we've since grown to a nationwide level. We represent close to 200 different brands across the country with in-store demos, trade shows, festivals, merchandising, charity and special events. But our main focus has been live, in-person, experiential marketing activations. So as you can imagine, COVID-19 really hit us hard. And in March, we lost about 300 events, which is a significant amount of revenue. And I ended up having to furlough 2 of my team members and cut some hours. We were able to save some jobs because we had to cut some hours. But, it was definitely a time when I've always looked to scale and work with a business coach and, looking at how can we scale when every time we have to do something, it involves more humans, which involves more payroll, which involves more of everything. So this time has really allowed my team and I to step back, and hopefully you all as well, to, as creatives and as visionaries, having that time and brain power to be able to think about what else could I be doing. And so today in our talk, I want to think about this quote that my team and I, really honed in on when all of this was starting was, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. And that could be you, that could be your team, that could be your company. But, things aren't, especially as running a business, things are never easy. There's always different challenges, but they're exciting. And so what can you do that you can control, that you can become better or help your team become better or your company? So to do that, I'm going to talk about 5 steps to growth. These are the processes that we went through to be able to pivot. So we currently just finished testing a new service offering where it's influencer marketing. So we're actually using our brand ambassadors to help engage our clients' target consumers online. We're also starting reputation management. So we actually have finished both of those tests. we've measured it, and we're actually rolling it out as we speak. So it's very exciting, and I just really want to be able to share what we've gone through so that you can take this and whether you are looking to pivot, you're currently pivoting, but you're stuck, or you are just looking for other service offerings that you want to open up but aren't sure where to start. This is going to be a really great session for you. So we'll look at our core purpose and look at, industry versus core purpose, and then brainstorm new activities. What does that look like? Then evaluate the effort versus the impact. I'm going to share with you this really cool matrix that we were able to use to figure out which ideas we were actually going to strategize, test, and measure, make a plan, and then, of course, all the while providing meaningful engagement and making sure that your team is engaged, making sure your current clients and customers are engaged as well. So here we go. First, we'll reflect on our core purpose. And we're going to do a little activity here in just a second, but it's interesting because typically when we talk about our business, somebody will say, what do you do? Or what is your business? And you'll say, I have an experiential marketing firm, or I have a digital marketing firm, or I have, a digital virtual assistant services company. But what we really need to be looking at is not your category, but actually, what is it that you do? What is it that you provide? What are your core competencies? What value do you bring to your customers and to the community? So yes, the industry is important. Yes, the services that you provide, but what is your core purpose? So for my purposes, my industry is experiential marketing. The service we provide is consumer engagement experiences. But our core purpose is to build our clients' brands through meaningful and engaging experiences. This used to be face-to-face experiences. So moving from being pigeonholed into the experiential marketing industry, we were able to open up and look at what other services could we be providing to our customers to help them continue to grow, but without having to have this live contact. So I would love for you all to, in the chat box, take a look at ABC, and if you're comfortable, type in what your industry is, and then think about what your core purpose is. Why are you in business? What are you here to serve? And how, what value do you bring? What are your core competencies? Do we have the chat capabilities here? Here we go. Okay. I haven't ever done a chat in a breakout room, so I hope that it's working. Is anybody willing to be unmuted and share theirs? Peter, can you be my guinea pig?
Yeah, sure, I can be.
Thank you.
So my industry is software development, and the services we provide is custom software development and integration. And our core purpose is to build our clients' value with everything we do. Just create the most value we possibly can for their money.
What industry do you primarily serve?
Actually, kind of a lot. Well-being and financial sector the most.
Okay. And are you working with on the customer side, or are you working on the financial planner or financial servicer side?
I'm working on the technology side, to decide what technology would be the best, more like a CTO.
So basically helping to streamline processes, and I would imagine just streamlining processes for financial services, basically making everybody's lives and jobs easier.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for being my guinea pig.
Absolutely.
I can share too if you want, Julie.
Sure, thanks, Eva.
Sure. So my industry, I'm a virtual tutor and I help kids get into college services. We do anything from finding their voice in a paper to helping them really prepare ahead of time for, 2 or 3 years in advance on proper college choices and making sure their GPA is up with those goals. And then our purpose is to make learning fun.
I love it.
Yeah.
Summed it up very nicely. So yeah, so it's great because you can actually take that and if there are any other ways that you need to pivot or the ways that you need to market right now, which we'll talk about a little bit later, making learning fun is so much more open than virtual tutor. So thanks for sharing. There'll be more opportunities here shortly as well. So once you've looked at your core purpose, you'll want to start brainstorming new opportunities. We had, in the beginning of the madness, my team is so instrumental in helping to come up with different ideas about what else could we be doing. And it was very exciting because on our team meetings every week, I definitely had them involved and they would help to, maybe they would be talking to their friends or their family members. One of our assistants shared a story that when she was on her walks with her mom was thinking of all these different ways that we could, different services that we could offer, or ways that we could use our brand ambassadors, or ways that we could get involved with charities. So I thought that was really cool. And that's definitely a way that you can get your team engaged as well. So it was just really great because then, I'm gonna skip that, excuse me. Because then we actually were able to then look at our core purpose and determine, which of these ideas, these 10 or 15 ideas that we had, I worked with my leadership team to, map out these ideas. And did they align with our core purpose, which is providing meaningful experiences to help grow our clients' brands? And from there, then we want to make sure that we're looking at trends. You want to look for what are consumers concerned about when they're buying or looking for products and services right now. And this could be ongoing. I mean, this may be just how they're shifting. And this is actually from some Nielsen data, but these are 4 things that customers are looking for right now when they're looking for products and services. They want something that's safety and low risk. They want to know, where it's coming from. Just about 50% of US consumers say that they will only buy within the United States. And then an even smaller percentage of that will only buy locally from their local community. So this is something to think about when you're doing your marketing and advertising as well, where you're going to want to make sure that you're sharing, here's why we're low risk. Here's, we're in your local community, or we're in the US, we serve the US and proud. Knowing the supply chain. This is actually really important for any products out there where, where are all the pieces of the final product coming from? And also who else is working on your product? Who else has touched it? Where else has it been? This is something that customers are looking at. And then of course, using technology for ease of use. And we're seeing this because, obviously we know the industries that are way up, and Claude just shared that in the earlier quiz. But think about, online shopping. Online shopping has just catapulted, and brick and mortar has increased over the last few weeks about 15%. So people are starting to buy more in store than they were, and online is decreasing. But technology is just the way that we're going. So I know a lot of you are probably, the majority of you are already in that space. So you have a leg up, which is awesome. And then, and then finally, you'll want to take advantage of your resources. So look at your look at your team. What skills do they have? What connections do they have? What tools do you have, or what skills do you have and connections do you have? Strategic partners you could be looking at. Who are they working with, and what do those people need more of? One of the things that we looked at with our influencer marketing is we have a demo management software company that we partner with. And we want it where we use for scheduling and reporting of all of our events. Well, obviously we don't have any events right now, but we look to them as a tool to be able to house the scheduling for our influencer marketing posts, as well as the analytics. So that was just easy, and we didn't have to look anywhere else for something like that where there are so many offerings. And of course, then they have connections that they shared with us. But take advantage of your resources and think about who and what those are. And then just down here at the bottom are, just to, I guess, reiterate, our Mirus experience became digital. So we were able to look at these 3 different areas. And even with number 2, we wanted to be able to help our customers to better market when we're doing the services that we're doing for them. But we went from face-to-face to digital. And, we don't know when we're going to be back to face-to-face, but we know that at least we're going to have some revenue streams that we can build upon, and that can be profitable and that can give people jobs as well. So if you come up with 1 or 2 new ideas or new services that you want to try, but you're not sure if it's going to be worth the effort or if it's going to make an impact, this next slide is going to be so instrumental for you. Right now, the only thing that you can do is run, and everything is moving really quickly, and well, there's so much uncertainty. You definitely want to move as quickly as you can, because you don't just want to be number 101 that's doing something new. You want to be that one that may be doing something that may not be completely original, but you're doing it differently and you're doing it better. Or you could have a winning move, and it could be something that's just, outrageous, and it's so different, it's something so new. But you'll want to look at, tactics require not much effort and may not have a lot of impact at first. It may be incremental. Obviously, we don't want to focus on waste of time. Winning moves are the ones that, maybe you currently have a business and you're already in the winning moves. Like, you've already tried a bunch of different things, and that's why your business has been successful to date, or at least until March or what have you, wherever you're at. And those can take time. Not every move is going to be a winning move. So right now, we really are most likely all of our ideas are going to be in the crazy ideas box. So what you'll want to think about is, what are going to be some challenges to these crazy ideas? And are there any roadblocks? And you'll want to make sure that you're writing those out and looking at those, and how are you going to address them? Because if they are crazy and you are going to move to the next planning phase, you want to make sure that you're prepared. And then you can also decide, okay, this is going to be way too challenging, or it's going to take way too much time and we got to move quickly. I'm going to put this in the parking lot for when all of this is over, but this is a great idea. So think about that. And then the next piece is that you'll want to come up with a winning scenario. So say your crazy idea turns into a winning move. What does that look like? And what do you need to do to get there? And then come up with a base hit. So even if you can get to first base with this crazy idea towards a home run winning move, what does that look like? So, I'm going to share these slides as well. I know that I believe Claude will send these out, but if you need this matrix, then you'll be sure to get it. But this was just a great tool that we were able to use and to think about, and really help me, being the perfectionist that I am, that it didn't have to necessarily be a winning move right out the gate. And I just needed to evaluate what was going to happen and what it was going to look like. So ultimately, I found this quote in a recent webinar that I participated in with the business coaching franchise action coach, Brad Sugars, who's the founder, is just a marketing genius. But he brought up this quote, and I thought it was so perfect with everything that we're going through and in what we're talking about right now. So in a world that's changing really quickly, the only strategy that's guaranteed to fail is not taking any risks. So, again, looking at this matrix, maybe you're thinking about tactics and how you can get there, and it's going to be easy. But is there a lot of risk involved? Probably not. A winning move and a crazy idea is where the risks are going to be, and it's up to you to map that out and see what challenges you're going to come across. So now you have your ideas. Say you're going to have 1 or 2 new services that you want to test out, or maybe there are upsells or extensions to your current services, or maybe you're going to market differently. So the next thing that you'll want to do is to make a plan. And there's 3 steps that I would suggest in making your plan. Obviously, the first is to strategize. So in the beginning, when all this was happening, it was right before Q2. And I typically I do annual planning, and then I do quarterly planning with my business coach especially. And I just remember thinking, how am I possibly going to plan out through the month of June when I don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow? So I was able to make a 30-day plan through April, map out what these 2 services, the testing and implementation would look like. And then, once obviously we got to May and now we're coming to June, I was able to plan out further. But I suggest making a 30, 60, 90-day plan. What does this test, measure, rollout look like? Who's going to be on your team? If you are a solopreneur, maybe there's resources that you could be tapping into, a virtual assistant, or even, this community. Maybe there's people here that you could be talking to as mentors to help you, or maybe they have resources that you could be bringing in. So, make sure that you have your implementation team and a project manager. If it's not going to be you, who can you trust with this? For us, with our influencer marketing, I have no idea. It takes me 10 minutes to post an Instagram post. So I am not the ideal person to manage the influencer marketing project. But my team is a group of 20-somethings and early 30-somethings. So they were all about it and know so much. So I implemented my operations manager as a project manager and 2 of our team members, which also helped empower them and gave them something that they could be working on and working towards while we didn't obviously have a lot of work for them to work on, and something outside of their normal job description where we really had to challenge them and also teach them how to start testing, measuring, building out processes. So it was a wonderful opportunity that way. But you'll definitely want to make sure that you are mapping out what that looks like. And then the next thing is going to be your test. Again, something that I had to work on in myself, being the perfectionist that I am, is you don't need a perfect winning move like we talked about. You need a beta test. You need a prototype. And those of you in technology, I love that I know those words and that I can share those with you. But that's all you need is, just knowing what it could look like and making sure that you have all the pieces that you need to be able to create the measurements to map out your pricing, map out your packaging, map out your overhead, and all of this you could be doing in the test phase. One of the other things I would suggest, and we'll talk about this also in number 5, is engaging your clients. So, if you haven't already, make a list of your top 30 most important relationships or most important customers. If you don't have 30, 5 or 10. And what you could be doing then is actually offering them to be part of this test. Let them know that this is something that you're doing to offer more value to them and help them to continue to grow, making their jobs easier, making learning more fun, and just understanding that, have them be a part of all of this and let them know, it's a test, you're doing it for free, here's what they can expect, here's what you need from them. And then, of course, after the test, following up with them to actually ask them questions to determine what the value is. Is this something that they would buy? How much would they pay for it? One of the other things you could be doing is looking at your competition. Somebody on your team could be, secret shopping other companies or your competition that may be doing this, or what are they doing differently that you can do better? So building out all of those things while you're in the measurement phase. And then during this planning phase, these are 3 tips that I would suggest. One, and I did talk about this a little bit already, is delegating your ideas and your implementation plan and having your team be part of building the timeline and execution and making sure that they're in line with what your goals are, but also keeping in contact with the project manager and making sure that they're on track, and also staying in communication with them because maybe they need to move around the timeline because there's things happening on the back end that maybe you weren't planning for, which is all part of the testing. So empower them. 2, coordinate how you spend your time. It's really easy when you are trying to focus on your core business to not spend enough time to look at where you need to be pivoting, or where you need to be growing, or where you need to be scaling, and how you can do that. So what I actually did was I found a planner that actually has a list of every single day by half an hour. So I can map out every single half hour of my time. Make sure you're blocking your time. And I know I think I've talked to you about this, is making sure that you're blocking your time for your sales and marketing. Make sure you're blocking your time for the testing and measuring. Make sure you're blocking your time for meeting with your team. So just coordinate how you're spending your time so that every minute is accounted for and not wasted, especially right now. And then finally, know your numbers. You'll want to make sure that you're gauging whether it's your time if you're a solopreneur, so that you know if you need to hire somebody in the future, what that's going to look like, how many hours, what's the cost, or your team. Like, what is that? Are you going to need another position for this particular service, or are you going to be able to outsource? What are you going to do? But just knowing your numbers, and also making sure that you're looking at, in your planning phase, that you know when you're going to launch this, and when you're going to start really selling it, and how much revenue you want to bring in, whether daily, weekly, monthly, so that you have goals on track. And then of course, whatever your marketing is going to look like to get there. I'm just going to, oh shoot, sorry. Got ahead of myself. I was going to check the chat box because I thought I saw some messages come up, but I'm not sure if they're for me. So let me just see here. Oh, thank you, Raymond, Marissa, and Rich. Thanks so much for chiming in on your industry and core purpose. Advanced technology to find solutions to challenging problems. I like that. That's your purpose. It's open-ended. You really are going to be able to drive other ways to pivot. Great. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay. Does anybody have any questions so far? I was going to wait till the end, but sometimes, most of the time, I don't really want to hear myself talk the whole time. Does anybody have questions, comments? Okay, moving on. All right, so number 5, finally, is providing meaningful engagement. So I know that I've touched on this a few times throughout the talk, but it's just something that's just so important where, as entrepreneurs and business owners, it's very easy for us to get in the zone and not on purpose, but just not share with our team or help drive our team or provide the support that our team needs. So making sure, like I said, putting it in your calendar, putting in your calendar when you're going to send out 3 thank you notes to your team or to your clients. There's just different ways that you can be providing engagement and staying engaged yourself, because as we're seeing, virtual is the new normal. And for some people, it can be very scary. And, whether it be that, some people may prefer being home and virtual and behind the screen or working on their own, we're human at the end of the day, and it can get lonely, and sometimes it can get depressing for people. And if you don't reach out and you don't have these things that, whether you have them be mandatory or not, make sure that you're connecting with people. And now this holds true for both your team and your clients and customers. So with my team in particular, I did talk a bit about how I involve them in the ways that we pivot, but also we do virtual happy hours, and we do this a couple times a month. In the beginning, we were doing it a little bit more frequently because we went from being in the office to being virtual. And that was really hard on a lot of my team. And in our team meetings, our weekly team meetings, I allow them space to quote Brene Brown, rumble, where we would be able to talk about, what are you feeling right now? And I know that it can be mushy gushy for some, but it's just super important to allow that space. Whether people chime in or not, at least they know that if and when they do have something, they can share it. And that also helps you keep the temperature. So if you, for me, I have my operations manager who's really great about keeping the temperature of our organization. And we meet once a week and we talk about that and what we need to be doing to help make sure that everybody's engaged and feeling supported and also on track and holding them accountable. So we also provide incentives. And I know, if money's tight, there's, very low cost or free ways that you could be providing incentives to your team. You could also be doing daily huddles. This is something that my operations team does on a daily basis. They meet for, there's currently 10 of them, so they meet for 10 minutes, and each person gets a minute or so to go around and talk about what they're working on, where they need support. But they also talk about their energy, so their points of energy. So if they're working on 3 different projects, they give, a number 1 through 5 on their energy points to each individual project. So if their energy level is at a 5 on one, but a 1 on the other, my operations manager knows, hey, where do you need help? Where can I support you? What can I take on for you? How can I help you get to your goal? Setting deadlines for them, what have you. And the team can chime in and say, where can we help you, or help be that extra 20% for that person. And it also helps people stay accountable as well. So another thing is the reporting and planning. We were doing this in the beginning just to kind of help people get into the groove of being able to plan, 10 minutes before the end of their day, planning what they're going to be doing the next day. Because working virtually, it was a little bit more difficult, and doing different projects than they're used to working on, they really had to help organize their time. So they would plan their day 10 minutes before the end of the day, share that with my operations manager about what their goals were for the next day. And then the next day, they actually had a plan of what they were going to be working on. And then again, doing it again at the end of each day. And then the other part is with your clients and customers. So you want to make sure, and hopefully you have been staying in contact with them, even if you don't have any business that you can do with them right now, or maybe some of them are not doing as much business with you or have put your services on hold because of finances or, anything else that might be going on. But make sure that you're still keeping in contact, because those are the ones that are going to remember that you kept in contact, and they're going to be the ones to come back. So you can do this with phone calls, handwritten notes. A lot of times it could just be a phone call like, hey, Bob, just thinking about you and the family. How are you? You can also be gauging business. So you can kind of, again, put your feelers out to see how is their industry doing. Hey, Bob, how's business going? Or how's the industry going? What have you heard? And that's a great way to stay connected, but also get your feelers out so that you have the intel. We've been doing a lot of value adds, and that could be through blogs, newsletters, e-blasts. So right now, I'm sure everybody's getting a lot of emails and phone calls with other companies that are trying to sell. So, you definitely don't want to stop marketing or selling, but the selling is going to be different. It's what they call compassionate selling, and your marketing is going to be different. So it's going to be more of, I know that this is going on right now. We want to offer this special for you through the end of June. If you are launching new services, or if you're working your test, hey, we're launching this new service. I want to offer you this special right now, or we're going to waive our onboarding fees, or whatever you think that you need to do that would be a way to help out your customers, and the way that you can pitch it to show that you understand that times are tough, but that this is really going to be a value for them. Another thing that we do is, we were doing in-person happy hours. So when I would go to an expo, we would host something in Orange County or San Francisco or Nashville. And so now we're doing virtual happy hours with our clients. And it's a great way for them to network as well and to keep in touch. So those are just some ways that we have stayed in contact and think about how we're marketing and selling. You'll also want to think about going back to the Nielsen data that I shared with the 4 things that customers are looking for. Think about that in your marketing. So if you're doing videos, as we know, is super hot right now. So if you as the founder, or maybe one of your team members can do a video and talk about, what are you doing differently and how are you taking into account what your customers or potential customers are thinking about when they're looking for your product or service. And so on that, I was hoping to get some input from the group about ways that you have been engaging with your team. Maybe you could share with the group, maybe people can learn some new ways that they could be doing that with their team, or new ways that you can try that you've thought about. Maybe I got your hamster wheels going and there's something that you would like to try to implement. So feel free to plug it in the chat box. Ooh, online gaming. I like it. And you're incorporating the digital. It's great. Anybody else? Great, keeping in touch daily. It's definitely important to keep in touch daily, more often than you normally would. It's great, Tracy. Weekly photo contest, I like it. I know one of our partner companies, on their company meetings, they have daily meetings, and every day it's a different costume or a different something that they have to wear, with crazy socks or crazy hats or wigs or a different virtual background. Networking by being virtual. A 30-minute company-wide meeting to check in, talk about the status of the company or specific topic. Great. Awesome. And then also, I'm really curious, what are ways that you've been staying in touch and engaged with your clients or customers? Or what are some new ways that you want to try or have thought about or want to ask the group? Anyone? Are you sending email blasts? Are you making phone calls? Problem discovery.
I'm going to actually voice that because it's harder to do it any other way. We're asking them what problems can we help them solve? What problems are they dealing with now?
Great. Thank you. I was going to ask you to expand, so thanks for taking initiative to do that. In your problem discovery, have you been able to think about what other service or value you could be giving to them, to your current customers, like other services or offerings that you could be implementing to help solve their problems? Just curious.
We're trying to address the realities that are in the marketplace right now and what the potential issues they are. So that's how we're approaching them originally, is like, is there, you're dealing with this, we understand that. Is there something we can do that, look, we have these opportunities, these methods of dealing with things, can we use them to help you change the way you're doing business? Because that's what's happening with a lot of companies. They're changing the way they're doing their normal business. And that means they don't know what they don't know at this point, but they're trying to figure it out, and we're trying to be there with them to do that. So it's a real discovery process. It's both internally for them and externally with us.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. And it's a great way to show that you care, and for them to be able to share with you what they're going through. And then also an opportunity for you and the company to think, what else could we be doing and how can we help? And they're going to remember that and tell
It
all
also
their
gives
friends.
us opportunities because we don't necessarily know what they need. And if they say, this is our problem, we go, we never thought about that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something we need to be thinking about.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else that wants to unmute, talk about something they've been doing they like to share? All right. Well, thanks everybody for sharing. Hopefully you got some ideas, or at least the hamster wheels are going. And then I'm just going to leave with, something that I want to make sure and emphasize, excuse me. And, especially I think in the beginning of all of this in March, when things changed overnight and it was a week by week, sometimes day-to-day update from the government or from the community. Or, if you're within a business, maybe the leadership was sharing things on a day-to-day or week by week basis. So it's important to not come from a place of fear or blame, where I try to teach my team when I talk to my clients, we want to make sure that we're choosing our sources of where we're getting our information. And also, being around people who help lift us up and who, if you are looking to change your business, who are going to be there with you and behind you. So at my company, we always say, we want to be positive, but realistic. So, try to come in with a positive mindset and instead of fear or blame. And again, this goes back to what you can control. And then don't procrastinate because you want perfection. Just do it. I know I talked about this a little bit previously, but again, it doesn't have to be perfect. And Tracy, what you're doing with this problem discovery is a great way to get those hamster wheels going and then actually plug things in that matrix and, just start testing and seeing what it looks like. And then of course, taking breaks and allowing yourself to rest. It's really easy to, especially when we're all working from home, to check your email at 11 or 10 o'clock at night. Oh my gosh, let me just do this one more thing. Give yourself a break and give yourself time to rest, because you'll be better for your business, for yourself, for your team, if you take care of you. And just know that you're doing a great job, and making a decision is better than no decisions. And just keep your vision going and your core purpose. And I really appreciate everybody's time, and I really appreciate you joining my session. As I mentioned, I really was really honored that I got to have this opportunity, thanks to Eva, who's here, for introducing me to San Diego Tech Hub and being a part of this group and being able to share what we've done so that I can pay it forward and hopefully help some of you take away some ideas and keep your businesses thriving and working through this. So thank you very much. Does anybody have any other questions before we move on? Here's my contact information. So if you think of anything later, feel free to email me or call me on my office phone. And I'd love to chat, or if there's something that you've thought about or want more information on, I would be happy to help you.
I just wanted to thank you, Julie. It was a great session. I'm sure we all learned something today. So thank you for your time. You did really good.
It was my pleasure. Thanks to everybody who participated and who listened in.
Your slides are awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Really color codes and just the structure. I'm an educator, and so I care about slides.
I appreciate that. That's quite a compliment.
Thanks. My apology for being late.
Oh, no, you're fine. I'm glad you got to join. And Peter, you guys are going to be sharing the slides, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I'll make sure you have them. So if people want to have those slides, they can.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right.
All right. If nobody has any question, then
Oh, I wanted to say I was really your ability to pivot what you've done brand in person to trying to digitally market was kind of I mean, that's a tough thing to do. So
Yeah, thank you.
I was checking out your website and seeing, you know, the different, I mean, it's a lot of companies that deal with people getting together. So
yes. Yeah, and it was I tell you, I know that this terrible pandemic is affecting people and businesses in so many ways, but I feel really blessed now. I mean, talk to me in March, I was really ticked off, but it's what you can control and pivoting your mindset. But like I mentioned in the beginning, it really allowed me to take a step back and have the brain power and the mind space to be open to other opportunities, because like I mentioned, you know, we're always looking to scale and how can we continue to grow and what does that look like? And if this hadn't happened, I can't tell you that if the 2 ideas that we did decide to run with, if I would have been open to them, because I would have just been in the mix and, you know, making sure everybody's happy and the day to day and all these things where I was like, oh my gosh, I have time to sit and think about what else could we be doing for our clients and in this, you know, in 2020. So thank you for saying that.
Sure.
All right. Well, Peter, do we sign off from here?
Yes, I can just see that the rest of the other 2 sessions just finished. So I believe
So
we
I'll go
can
back.
just finish now as well. Thank you everybody for joining. Have a great rest of your night. Again, thank you so much, Julie.
Thank you for the
That's great.
opportunity. Yeah, thank you so much, everybody. Hope to meet you in person soon.
Hope soon.
Soon.
Yeah. Stay safe. Bye now.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.